If you clicked on this video, chances are you're new to the exciting world of cameras. Most of us, including me, started our content creation journey by filming with our phones, which totally worked great, and there are actually still many advantages of shooting with a phone as opposed to a camera. But there comes a time in your journey where you just know it's time to take the next big leap in production quality, which means getting your first camera. In that case, this video is perfect for you because I'm going to be talking about one of the most popular camera releases in the past years, the Sony ZV-E10. I know how frustrating it is to watch a review on something where you absolutely have no idea what anything means, which is why I'm here today to make things simple for you. I'm going to talk about the features that actually matter on this camera for you, how it's going to change your workflow compared to an iPhone or any other phone you use, how to actually set up and begin using the camera, and of course, real-world test footage and videos using this camera. And before we get started, I just want to give a huge shout out for Best Buy Canada for sending me this camera to make this video guide possible. I'll also be doing a video later about the Sony A7C as well, but in the meantime, stay tuned for that, and also go ahead and check out Best Buy in stores and online to browse their extensive camera collection. Let's first talk about why a camera matters. The most obvious thing is video quality, and although the iPhone has grown leaps and bounds in qualities over the last few years, there's no denying that a camera sensor is just physically larger and better than the minuscule phone sensors that we see on our phones. The amount of detail you see in the footage is often much better with a proper camera. Footage is cleaner and less grainy in less than ideal lighting situations. You have more flexibility when it comes to your own stylistic look if you're into that. And of course, the number one identifier, depth of field, or as we like to call it, creamy bokeh. Using myself as an example, I used the OnePlus 8 Pro as my first camera, and yes, I don't want to show this, but my set looked horrible when I first started. That was improved when I switched to an iPhone 12 Pro Max, but it wasn't actually when I switched to an actual camera, the Fujifilm X-T3, that you can notice a significant improvement. This was my set before I learned how to properly light my videos, and this is how it looks now, a cultivation of 2 years of experience. Now, the reason why I say production quality is so important is because although there are many other content creators that still shoot on phones and make mind-blowingly good content, good production value can actually show the audience that you are serious about making content and are putting the time and the effort to make it the best you can. This actually also translates to more brands that are actually willing to reach out to you and sign on sponsorship deals. And although the type of content you make and your personality does play a big role, good production quality is often a value proposition that leads to impressing brands more and higher sponsorship fees. And speaking of actually producing the content, in my own experience, I find that shooting with a camera actually makes me less lazy and more creative. You see, a phone is something we're used to using on a daily basis because honestly, it's just so convenient, lightweight, and pocketable. So when it comes to filming with an iPhone, you can just whip it out and start recording without worrying about any settings. Now, when you switch to a camera, you have to mount it on a tripod, you have to actually adjust each angle separately for each shot, make the lighting look good so it looks good on the camera, and just honestly a lot more steps, which actually makes you really plan out that shot. And yes, shooting with a phone is actually much easier and more time efficient, but the time and convenience trade-offs by using a proper camera is so worth it. Alright, enough rambling, let's actually talk about all the features you need to know about the ZV-E10 and how it will actually help you. So to start off, the camera with the included kit lens is extremely light, especially compared to the majority of other cameras on the market. It comes in at just 462 grams with the kit lens, meaning that it's roughly double the weight of my iPhone. And that's actually really important for something like vlogging because holding up a heavy camera makes it so inconvenient to film, not to mention your arms will literally burn off by the end of the day. The camera is also built better than expected for the price with a solid plastic body, a reasonably sized grip that is still comfortable to hold, and tactile buttons and dials that are easy to control. As for the included lens, the build does feel quite cheap and janky to use, but honestly that doesn't matter because it's such a compact and versatile lens to use. So this is a 16 to 50mm lens, meaning that it can zoom in from a wide angle for vlogging into a tight cropped in shot optically. It's basically like the triple cameras on the back of the phone, except built into one lens, which means that you can zoom continuously without changing lenses. This is also a power zoom lens, meaning that you can use the W to T dials located on the top right of the camera to zoom in and out smoothly without even touching the lens. Also, a great thing about a lens system is that in the future, you can actually swap out the lens to something more premium for that super creamy cinematic background blur everyone wishes they have. And also another thing that I really love about this camera is the flip screen, which is honestly so useful as a solo creator. You can twist the monitor to any angle you need, you can flip it out to the side for vlogging so you can actually frame yourself, and as a bonus, you can actually flip the screen side inward so you don't damage the screen during transport in like a bag or something. The screen can also be used as a touch screen to set a focus point that actually tracks the object across the frame, which is super useful. And speaking of autofocus, honestly, Sony cameras are regarded to have the best autofocus system in the camera industry, and it is really shocking how good it is. You never have to worry about objects being out of focus, and with the excellent face and eye tracking, your face will never be out of focus. There's also an interesting product showcase mode that you can actually activate by clicking the trash bin button, which allows you to bring an object straight in front of the camera without losing focus. Lastly, there are 3 internal microphones built on top of the camera with an included windscreen that just slides right on to prevent the wind from distorting the audio. The battery life is honestly seriously amazing on this camera too, with a quoted 125 minutes of video and 440 still images from Sony. The best part is you can actually charge the camera with any USB-C charger or even a power bank on the go, which is so convenient. But to actually showcase the features in practice, I shot a miniature vlog of this camera for you guys using the footage straight out of the camera with no editing and the audio directly from the built-in microphones. And also, definitely stay after the vlog too, because I am going to tell you some crucial settings that you should adjust when you get the camera. And if you're enjoying this video so far and want to help a young man like me reach his dreams of becoming a YouTuber, please consider subscribing as I put a ton of effort into this video. But anyways, let's roll the vlog clip. Hello there. Alright, I'm in Kingston right now, and I'm actually heading back to Toronto for the weekend, so I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to show you guys actual vlog footage coming straight out of the ZV-E10 for my weekend. And basically, I'm not going to touch any of the footage that's coming out of the camera, so it's going to be in its default picture profile. I'm not going to color grade it, and the audio is also coming in from the 3 built-in microphones on this camera. So this way, you guys will get a sense of how the camera performs, both in video and audio, from default straight from the camera. But yeah, let's get going. Alright, I finally finished my braces appointment, which is what I came to Toronto in the first place for. But now that I'm in Koreatown, I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to try out some street photography with this camera. So here we go.
Alright, so I'm at a sushi all-you-can-eat. Take him here and hopefully it's really good, but hey, it's the perfect chance to take some awesome montage of delicious sushi and food. But I'm really hungry and it's like what, 2 o'clock right now, so let's get eating. Our first batch of food is in. We got tons of sushi. We got lots of delicious sashimi. Got some fried tempura stuff. Yeah, oh, I can't wait to dig in. Oh, alright, I'm finally finished eating, and I ate so much that I can't move anymore, but I'm heading to Eaton Center right now to, you know, take a walk and do some window shopping for fun, since I'm already downtown. Alright, I wasn't allowed to film inside the store, but if you guys are interested in this camera, definitely go check out your local Best Buy and try it out in person, because I think the majority of Best Buys I've been in have been able to have this camera out for demo, so definitely go check it out.
At this moment, will be out of service. Thank you.
Hope you guys enjoyed that little vlog, but as you can see, this camera is such a capable little machine for the price. I also appreciated how low-key this camera looks in public while still looking much more professional than using a phone to vlog, for example. Like seriously, using a phone to vlog makes me feel super amateur and judged by other people, but once you switch to the camera, people think you're a professional and compliment you. Like seriously, there were at least 10 people that complimented me in Toronto about this camera, so that's honestly another awesome advantage of owning this camera. But anyways, before you guys leave, I actually need to teach you guys how to set up and use the camera as the title of the video promised. Alright, to start off, on the top, you'll find a slider to turn on the camera, in which the kit lens will automatically extend out. There are actually 2 shutter buttons, with the button on the zoom dial being the one used for photos, and the one with the red ring being for videos. The change mode on the camera, you can click the button under the power button to cycle between the photo mode, the video mode, and also the slow motion mode. But first, let's change the settings by clicking on the menu button to enter the menu. In the first section, you can leave everything by default as JPEG, Fine, and L24M. But if you have some editing knowledge, you should definitely change the file format to RAW and JPEG so you have that RAW file for editing. If you're shooting thumbnails, you could also change the aspect ratio to 16:9 to frame your shots better. On the third page, you'll see a setting for shoot mode. If you don't know what you're doing, you should use the intelligent auto mode to start off, but what I recommend is a mode called Aperture Priority mode, which allows you to manually set the aperture while everything is automatic. Now, what aperture means is, in simpler terms, the depth of field or how much of the background is blurry, or it's called bokeh. A lower number means more background separation, while a higher number means that more of the shot in focus. To control the aperture, you can use the front dial on the top right, and the reason why you want to change that manually is to achieve certain looks with how much you want in focus. For example, if I'm taking a portrait, I would want to use a lower number for more background blur, similar to those fake portrait modes you see on your phone. And if you're taking a landscape photo, you would want to use a higher number or what we call f-stop, such as f8, to make sure everything in the photo is in focus. A lower f-stop actually increases the amount of light let into the sensor as well, which is crucial for low light shooting. Moving on to page 4, where it says Face and Eye AF set, you want to enable Face Eye Frame Display so you can actually see the square on your eye and face on the monitor. And lastly, on page 9, there is a soft skin effect button which you should definitely turn off so it doesn't look like there's a filter on your face unless you like that sort of thing. Now, moving on to video settings, which are in the second section. Starting with the file format, you want to switch the camera to XAVC S4K to get the best quality possible from the camera. Now, under the record settings, you're going to want to switch into the 24p 100mm, and for what the numbers represent, 24p is the frame rate of the video, and for this camera, I would say to shoot everything in 24p as it's widely regarded as the industry standard for filmmaking and looks the most cinematic. The 30p actually has a major crop, which would make it quite unsuitable for vlogging, but where it does make sense is for b-roll or supplemental footage in videos. When it added to your timeline in the editor with a talking head shot in 24 FPS, you can actually slow down these 30p clips to 80%, giving it this dreamy, slightly slowed down look, which makes everything look extra cinematic. It also smooths out any jitters and camera shakes if you are shooting handheld. Moving on to the shoot mode, it comes with the default intelligent auto mode, which is great for total beginners as the camera will automatically choose the best lighting that is best lit for your face. However, video settings are really important if you want the footage to look good, which is why I suggest you use the manual exposure mode, which allows you to manually set the aperture and the shutter speed, which I will teach you how to use right now. So for the aperture, we can use the same logic as I taught you before and use the dial on the top right to control that. With the kit lens, you should actually just set it to the lowest number possible, which is f3.5 on this lens at the widest angle. This way, you'll always get the most background blur possible and also have the best performance in lower light condition. As for the shutter speed, the general rule of thumb is to double your FPS. So for 24 FPS, you would want to use 148, or in this case, round it to 1/50. And for 30 FPS, you would want to use 1/60. And to adjust this, you can actually just rotate the dial on the back. And that's literally everything you need to remember while shooting, as everything else is done by the camera. Also, just as a side note, make sure to get a variable ND filter if you're going to be shooting or vlogging outdoors. What this filter does is basically act like sunglasses for your camera, so you don't end up with super bright and overexposed videos. The filter size for this specific kit lens is 40.5mm, so make sure to get the right one, and I think the best filter to get for this one is the K&F Concept one, which I'll leave a link down below. It's also variable, meaning that you can rotate the filter until the camera reaches the point where it's not overexposed anymore. And finally, for some other settings, under S&Q settings, you can actually change the recording setting to 24p and the frame rate to 60 FPS for most scenarios, and 120 FPS for ultra slow motion. On page 3, you're going to want to change steady shot to standard for most shooting scenarios unless you're moving a lot, but please do not use active for vlogging. Active does make the stabilization better, but at the expense of a major crop, which means that you won't even be able to fit yourself in the frame anymore. And on page 7, I recommend going to the zebra settings and turning your zebra display on while setting the level to 95. What this does is give you zebra lines when you're overexposing the video, which usually means it's time to pull out your ND filter so you don't end up with a white video. And just under that is the grid line, which I recommend the rule of thirds grid, as you can better line up your shots using that. And lastly, on page 9, for the function of touch operation, make sure it is on touch tracking so you can use the touchscreen to focus track on objects in the frame. And lastly, the last menu setting you need to know is in the 5th section, which looks like a bag on page 4. And that is the format button, so you can easily erase your SD card and free up space to record more videos. And just a tip from personal experiences, make sure to double and triple check that you actually transferred the footage from your SD card to your computer before deleting that, or else you're never ever gonna get that back. And also for SD cards, I recommend this Lexar 128V60 card, which is the perfect balance between price and performance. performance. You definitely don't want to cheap out on the SD card, as the camera needs a fast SD card like the V60 one to properly write video footage, and I think 128 gigs is a good size so you don't run out of storage too fast. The SD card file hierarchy is also really weird for Sony, but basically all you need to know is that to find photos, you go into the DCIM folder, then the 100 MSDCF, and for videos, you can go into private, M4 root, and then clip. Alright, that was a lot of information to digest in one video, but that's honestly it from me. I really hope I covered everything you need to know to start using this camera or convince you to buy one. And if I missed anything or you guys have any questions, definitely drop them down below and I'll try my best to get to all of them. And of course, if you enjoyed this video and found this video useful, please smash the like and subscribe button because I put a ton of hard work into this video. Also, definitely check out the other videos on my channel. But anyways, have a good one guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one.